Hi everyone, I just thought that I would do a little video, and it's about kind of having fun with the railway, because with my layout upstairs with the 009 layout, the engines don't run very well on it, and I think it's just my poor track laying. I made it way too complicated. It's too tricky. What I've got down here is a little test bed that I've made up, which is a board that one of my friends had made for me for the layout, but it's not being used anymore, and I literally just PVA glued on some track and that's it, nice and simple. But sitting here and I'm watching them run so well on here because I've got a future video coming up, and this might come out after that video, I don't know. And what I want to do is turn this into kind of like a scenic test track. Just something nice with some ballast on there, put some shrubbery in there, and just something that's nice to look at. And if I want to, I can film using that and it will look nice. You know, there's nothing stopping me doing this. So I've got my 00 gauge on one side and then my 009 the other. What I'm going to do is probably add in a point. I've got a small radius pico point here. I'll pop that in, and then after that, a bit of ballast, a bit of shrubbery, you know, you get scenics in there, and that's it. You know, I don't need to pretty it up too much. Later on, if I want to, I can make a back scene for it. You know, we put that on the back, whichever side I want to, based on what I'm filming at the time. So what we'll do is we'll have some fun. It's, you know, it's late in the evening. I got back from my model railway club and I thought I want to do something. And I found with my layout, I don't want to do anything half the time, because it's like, well, I need to do this first, I need to do that first. But how about we do something? This is a great test bed because it is the test track. So what we'll do is we'll crack on with this and we'll have some fun, and yeah, we'll film the trains going up and down on it. What I wanted to do on this board is put this point in, and the reason is so then I can have, you know, just checking them on points. It's pico points, so generally most things will run on them. Obviously these need to clean, so I'll fit them in, be nice and simple, and it'll be kind of a little siding for it to sit in, or another one, so I can have two on there. And also I could have some fun doing some shunting. For the 009 track, I'm just going to leave it how it is, just one little straight section and a little buffer at the end or something like that, each end. Right, let's get this fitted. We just need to snip off some of the sleepers. So that will sit like that. It's not perfect, but it would do. Maybe I can use a small section. There we go. Okay, so that's there. It's kind of looking tidy, right? So we've got our two sidings. I'll bring this in here, and I'm only going to hold it on my PVA glue. Down this end, I've got my bit with my wire already on, so we're going to use that. Then we're just going to maximise the length of it here by putting a piece in there. Get some more fish plates. If you've not done anything to do with model railways before, the best thing to do is get some bits and learn. You know, you've got the fish plates. Initially, they can be intimidating, I guess, if you've never done it before. But you'll get good and bad ones, some that are hard to put on, some are easy to put on. The ones I get are, I think you either go for the Hornby ones, or I think you get background ones, which look nigh on the same. And they're more rounded, wrapping around the bottom, whereas the pico ones are, I find them a little bit tricky to put on, but they do look more low profile once they're on. They do look a little bit nicer. So that's the track there. So I think that's gonna be right. So that's gonna be sitting like this. It should be fine. I've got my PVA glue, and the beauty is the bits that were stuck down here before had PVA under them, and you can get it up still. So what I'm going to do is I'll make a little quick mark. So we've maximised the lengths there. I'm just going to mark out where it is so I know where to put the glue. I'm just going to put some PVA glue on there. Use my tripod to hold the track for now. And what I'm going to do is squeeze out some glue. And we're going to run it. It doesn't have to be all over it, you know. I'm just going to put enough on that we can tack it down. So in both sides, because we're even going to ballast this, so that will do the rest of the work. Okay. The point's going to be manual. I'm not going to put a point motor on it because, well, I'm building a fun little test track, so it needs to stay that way. Fun. Okay, drop that in place. You could be putting cork underneath, that'd be making it quieter, but there's nothing wrong with sticking it straight to the wood. Honestly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It would just be a bit more noisy, but I like the noise, if I'm honest with you. So this is on here now. What would I do next? I want to paint my track, just sleeper grime, and I can just use my airbrush. It won't take long. I'll just dust it over with some sleeper grime, and then we can put the ballast on after that. So we're going to put the sleeper grime on now. I've just put some in the airbrush. I'll be wearing my mask. Go on here. The window is open. Window in the bathroom is open, so the air comes through. The excess that I have on the brush, I always find it's always a shame to clean the brush off, but you know, if you really want to, you can then just use what's here. The airbrush just makes it light work to do all of it. I'm painting everything by hand. It's going to take some time. Let's get on with this. Okay, so that is the 009 stuff done. I'll put a bit more paint in, and we'll do this stuff whilst the glue's drying. We can paint it at the same time. What I'm going to do is protect the inside of the contacts where my frogs go on. Put a little bit of blue tack on there. What I do is I was going to put it in between. Put a mesh on over the top. There we go. It's all protected and should still work. I think that I've got everything. So I just need to let that dry. Shouldn't take too long. It's just acrylic, so it's the beauty. But what you can do is you can clean the top of the track whilst it's still it's not dry. So do we use a bit of tissue to do this? And then you need something kind of quite firm. And you just run it across that top edge. It's not going to completely clean it, but it means that it's less work later when you go and run the block over the top to clean it all. Right, so that's off. You can take out our blue tack, because that will still be working. A treat. We'll just wipe off our last little bit of dirt. And the top of the track should be pretty clean. But like I said, we'll run a little cleaning block over it. Right, with that done, I'm gonna let that dry like I said, and then we're gonna get out our ballast. And the ballast I'm gonna use is, I've got some fine ballast here. It's nice and fine. Do I want to use fine? I don't know. With fine it looks more like the real thing. I've got some kind of like a a brownie one here, which looks kind of cool. Maybe I can mix both of them together. They're both fine. And then I've got some blended turf. We won't be putting that on. Alright, mix these two together. Okay, so I've got a little pot. I'm going to put half and half of this in. I fancy mixing it. I kind of don't like the idea of it all looking like soil, though I'm sure the track does look like that. And the other one, it's very grey, and so is most of my layout. So we'll pour that in here. To about there. Get a marker. And then we'll do the same with this one. It's about the same. And what I'll do is I'll mix it together. There we are. Mixing up nicely now. Got a real mix then of different colours. Now what I'm going to do is gently or aggressively lay it on the track. Put a bit on to begin with, because what you'll find is as you're doing it, it spreads out quite nicely. And the idea is to have the ballast holding the sleepers in place, because obviously when the trains run on it in real life, I guess it wants to move them around, so it keeps it in one place. And just work your way down, spread it out. You can do this in sections, but then you've got to wait ages for it to dry. So I'm going to do the whole lot in one go. Your sleepers coming through. Not sure about this colour. It's got a kind of a light browny kind of with greyness kind of colours in it. But it is what it is. I'm sure somewhere at some point there was ballast in real life that looked like this. And it's a bit of fun. That's the important thing. Now I've got some pre-mixed, well I mixed it, 50-50 amount of H2O, water, and isopropanol alcohol, which is what I'm going to spray onto this surface. I'm not going to try and make it swim, otherwise I'll end up having a big problem. And everything will be washing away. So I just realised I'd splash some on just here of my PVA mix. So here's my PVA mix, which is kind of, it's not 50-50, it's a bit more water than glue in there, so it's liquidy. And then we're going to use a pipette to gently drop it on. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to spray on my isopropanol mix. And what that would do is allow the glue to wick into the gravel, and what that means is, well, it reduces the surface tension. You'll hear people say this a lot, and or retention, I don't know. Basically it allows the glue to go in, otherwise it just sits on top and it doesn't glue it properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it arguably nice and wet, but not to the point that the ballast is now fleeing away somewhere else. And then all we do is with the pipette, I suck some up. See, we have some in here, and I make sure I know where I've been, otherwise you're going to get loose bits. So I'm just going to drop it on and make sure this area has got glue on it, and it's as simple as that.
one thing I want to mention is when I was ballasting this turnout or point, I tried to make sure this area was pretty clear of the ballast, otherwise you can have a bad day. But you just need to focus on what you're doing, make sure you cover the areas. It's okay to put a little bit too much on, just don't have it swimming, otherwise you're going to have runaway, especially with this ballast being thin. And I'm just going to work my way around. And if you're desperate, like afterwards, you can always... Oh, I've got a cat attacking me. This is Groot. You can barely see him because he's so dark. He's a little monkey. Anyway, I don't know what I was saying. Now I've got to the stage where I've put some brown paint in between all the gaps, just to be a backer for when we put the bits of grass on, so where I don't get it, it's clearly not wood showing through. I've actually re-weathered the track because actually I managed to get some kind of white effect come on it from the PVA glue. Don't know why, don't normally get that from this, but yeah, redid that, and then I'll need to clean the tracks later, but I thought we'll do it later. It's done. The ballast is dry. Actually I brushed all of it off, and you kind of let it stick onto the brown, kind of what's meant to be the soil, because that's fine, there'll just be bits showing through. I've got a selection of different things that I can use. I've got blended turf, which has obviously got different colours, which obviously makes a blend. I've got some coarse turf I can use, that's in the medium green, and then the burnt grass. But I've also got other things, like from Green Scene. This is a bit more expensive. I don't know what the proportion works out on price, but they got some other colours in there. There's some light green here, which is from, again, Woodland Scenics. It's a different colour to what I've got of these ones. It says coarse turf, but it looks a bit finer than that. Got some really bright stuff here I can put in little places. And this is some knock product that is. And same again, this is from Boosh, or Booshed, or whatever they are called. I get little bits here and there just to show there's some flowering of poppies or whatever going on in places. And amongst that I've got other things. So Keep Gaming Scenics, I picked up some of this. I'm not sure about it. It looks like it's come straight off my roof, if I'm honest. But I think once it's on the layout it might look better. But it's a natural looking product, which is great. And I've got like the foliage clusters I'm going to stick on in places. But what we do is we'll just start having a play, putting bits on in places and see what happens there. Once actually I've got to a certain point, I need to put these wires that are down this end, to put them through, and then I can put the connector underneath and out the side. Right, let's get on with this then. So I've got my wood glue here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on in places and then brush it to a certain point. I'm not really sure how I'm going to approach it, but I'm going to probably start with my blended turf to begin with. Not cover everything, but I'll cover, you know, areas that I feel, you know, we could do a little patch of, you know, whatever we want. I think by the edges we can have a bit of static grass eventually if we really want to. But what I'm going to do is, with no prejudice, I will just put on some glue in places, we'll scatter it around, and go from there. I'll get a kind of a slightly moist paintbrush to spread it a bit more, and then yeah, we'll see how it looks afterwards. So I've got my wet brush and we're just going to work it, mix it around. Maybe that was a little bit too wet, but the grass will still stick. Well, I should hope so anyway. Just work our way across. Some bits can be close, some bits can be far away, and we'll come in with some other colours later. We can even come in with the same thing if we're not happy. One thing that I want to practice doing, because I don't do it well enough, is normally I just go in static grass everything, and it just looks, well, not really like the real thing. It's that kind of like a computer display of grass. There's no depth to the different colours and things. But we'll see how this one comes out. I just like the idea of using this test track as a practice bed for doing, well, scenics. Because when you want to do it on your layout, you kind of don't always have the confidence. Well, I don't anyway. So I'm kind of doing this to help boost my confidence, seeing if I can do it differently. But even if I fail, even if I do this and it absolutely looks terrible, it looks like I've just chucked loads of different colours on, that's okay. Because hopefully I know a bit more than I did before. So what I do is I'll moisten the brush and leave that aside. What I'm just going to get out some of the blended turf. Don't know if I've used this before. I haven't. Got a label in the top. So open it up, see if I can poke it out. That's our seal. Right, so it's got these 3 little holes. So what I'll do is I'll give it a shake. With a certain amount of control with this. The problem that I always find with this kind of thing is you always end up losing a lot of product. It ends up going up the hoover, so I'll try and save as much as I can. Nice colours, this blended turf. It does look nice. Try and encourage it along. I feel like I need to do it with my fingers. I feel like I'll have more control. There we are. And I kind of just pat it on. And this is kind of fun. We're starting to add colour to the layout. Instead of always being browns and kind of dirty metal colours all the time, we can add some green. One of the people I like watching, who does all the scenics, is Luke from Geek Gaming Scenics. That's where I get a lot of my inspiration from. Obviously there's another Luke Tarrant. He's also very good. Got a few followers, isn't he, on his YouTube page. Imagine that. Let's make him dizzy every time he looks at that. Okay, that's kind of looking great. Let's brush off some of the bits that I've got over the grass. Well, it's gone to the ballast, sorry, did I say grass? Because what I would do, once I've put more on the rest of it, is add some of the varnish over the top, and then I will continue adding more on. Okay, so we've stuck on what was my blended turf. I was thinking what to do next, because I've got some of this Fowler stuff, which is it slightly darker? Do we put that on? It looks almost the same colour, doesn't it? So what do we put on next? I've got some of this lighter stuff here, it's quite bright. I just don't want to make it all look like a dark dreary colour, but also I don't want to make it look like a fluorescent pattern. So let's try some of the green scene stuff. I'll just put a few little bits on and see how it looks. So my plan was to kind of fill in some of these gaps, and we get the paintbrush. I did run the hoover over this afterwards. It's still kind of drying, but I think it'll be alright. I'll use a smaller paintbrush this time because that other one was quite large. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for just some little patches and strips. So run it across here. Something like that. As if like the light green colour is what's growing next to the track. Was kind of my thoughts. Let's see how this looks. So I just put a tiny bit of water with the brush. That brush is a bit chunky, isn't it? We won't use that one. We'll use a smaller one. Use this one. There we go. Give that a little clean. Leave that there. And we'll sprinkle it on very carefully because there's not much in here. So this is quite foamy, this stuff. Gonna prod it on as we go. Put a bit extra on and make sure it's stuck there. I'm gonna use some of this burnt grass, I think, in corners and bits. See how that comes out. And there's more kind of colours here. So I'm just kind of spreading the colours around now. Seems to be looking either really messy or good. Not really sure yet. Adding lots of the colours, it kind of starts blending it all together. It's okay if bits get stuck in the track as well. It'll be like it's a disused track. I'm taking this quite seriously considering it's just my test track. But it's all about practicing those skills and learning. One thing that I will do, I'm going to add some flock, which is a bit of poppy seed. And a few bits here and there. Some odd sprigs of colour here and there. We open up Luke's packet here. Looks like stuff that kind of grows on roofs. If I put it in places, I know it's quite chunky, this stuff.
Now to lock it all in, I'm using some isopropyl alcohol, as you saw me using with the ballast before, and we're going to lock in all of the loose bits that I've put on top. Should have just done this at the beginning, but we have got a base layer of glue underneath. With that done, I'm just using my watered down PVA glue. It does look quite white here, but it does go back to a clear colour once it's dry. And I cover the whole thing in. Just take your time, make sure you get everything on camera. You're not going to see me doing everything, but I do cover it all. And it's okay to check it afterwards if there's some loose bits. Go and redo some areas, that's alright. Now I want to add in some last touches, which is some grass tufts. You can buy these online, and I've seen recently Luke from Geek Gaming Scenics do this himself with some baking foil or baking paper. Then I get some static grass. I've started with some kind of 4 and 6mm on the top. And then once that's done, I'll use some 2mm static grass, and that kind of goes in the gaps and makes it look like quite a dense little tufts. As you can see here, it really starts looking nice in the end. I ended up making some other bits and bobs whilst I was here. I've got a big tray, and then basically you just shake off what you don't need. Once it's all dry, put that back in a pot and you can apply it. So they're dry, put some glue on the bottom, and I stick it onto the track in various places. I didn't discriminate, I just put it in just wherever. I wasn't too worried, and then kind of give it a little bit more of a look. At the moment we've got all the foam type flocks and bits on there. Now we've got some spiky grass, and if I was to do this again, maybe I'd use a bit more, maybe I'd make some bigger bits. But I had a lot of fun with this, and I learnt some new skills that I didn't already have before, which is wonderful. So when I come in later on, I can do that. You can see my long bits there, kind of messed around gluing them in as well. This is stuff you can do yourself. Obviously, you'd need a static grass applicator. There are some cheap ones online. My one's a WWS one, but you know, these cheaper ones, I've seen loads of people use them with success. There's Groot being a monkey. Gonna give him some attention. And off we go. Honestly, have a go yourself at this. This has been so much fun so far. But with this done, obviously sticking these down, I want to wire it up. So under the board, I'd put the wires underneath. I need to have it so I can run DC or DCC. So I'm going to put a terminal block on there. And so what I've done for one of the bits is poked it through, but the other didn't have quite long enough wires. So I've soldered them on, and then I'll use a bit of heat shrink to stop the two touching each other, and use the back of the soldering iron to hold them together. This little jig I've had for absolutely years. It's just some plastic bits with some crocodile clips on, and they hold my wires for me. It's very handy, and it means when you do the little lap joints, it's just easy to work on. Here's my terminal block, nice and simple, nothing special going on here, but I'm going to screw it together so then I can go and have some fun. So what I do is I'm going to take this down into the kitchen so we've got a better viewing point, and we'll use it. I've got my loco that you would have seen on my last video, which has been well received, which is a 009 Great Western Railway pannier tank narrow gauge loco. It's a fictitious design which I absolutely love, and I want to make more of them. I'd like to make an 060 version of it whilst we're talking about it, just like its older brother here, which looks lovely as well. He hasn't been run for a little while actually. He was a little bit sticky, so once I've gone backwards and forwards a few times it loosened off, but I don't get to run all my locos all the time. One of the beauties of this test track means I can have a little bit of fun downstairs, and also what it has inspired me to do is to possibly make myself a layout that I can have downstairs, but when I don't want to climb up into the loft and work on areas that I still don't know what I want to do with them. So this is something you could do yourself. It's just a bit of wood, a bit of track, and a lot of fun. So let's have a little look at them running around the layout. So I'll have a bit of a different angle here, but I think it kind of looks nice, you know, like the opening frame to the video. You could just have the grassland in the background. It will look lovely, and it just looks great. Got them both coming here. We're trying to point out here for one of the sidings. It's nice, you know, if I ever do any reviews on anything, I can just use this and I can get some really lovely shots of it. What would I do differently if I did this again? Probably not a lot. Quite happy. It's just a test track. If I'm going to do anything again, like I said, I'll do myself a nice fresh layout where I can have some fun and maybe even take it to a show if I was ever invited. But what I'll do is I'll be finishing the video off about now, But leaving you with these shots, I'm honestly really pleased. You know, you look back on my original videos, I was pretty scared to do anything like this. But now with doing this, you can gain confidence. You know, you can go have a go. You won't ruin your railway because you're just using a few pieces of track. You're putting down some different bits of flock, and you're testing what do I like, what colours don't I like. You know, by subtracting them, you'll be able to get what you want. I'd like to say a big thank you to my channel members and my patrons. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Like if you like it, comment if you want to let me know what you thought of all of this. But if you'd like to support the channel further, you could become a channel member or a patron. The links are in below. That allows you to support the channel a bit more, so I can do a bit more with the channel and maintain what I'm doing. I put a lot of time and effort into this and it costs a lot of money, and obviously your support is welcome and extremely helpful. Anyway, thank you so much again for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and possibly learnt something during this. There will be a video coming up on your left and right, as well as the various links. You enjoy, take care, look after yourselves, and I'll see you next time.